Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. We are in conversation with Maruti Udyog or Maruti Suzuki. Maruti came out with its main numbers yesterday, and the now domestic sales were up nearly 13% to 1.52 lakh. And joining me is Shashank Srivastava, who is the Senior Executive Officer, Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Shashank, thank you very much for joining us on BQ Prime.
Thank you.
Good set of numbers. Domestic growth seen at 13 odd percent despite some challenges. How do you look at the entire month of May vis-a-vis the kind of challenges that the industry is facing?
So May was reasonably good. I thought basically the stability of demand which continued. In fact, if you look at purely the month of May and compare it with last May, there was an increase in inquiry levels of almost 17%, booking increased 9%. Of course, you just mentioned the wholesale numbers increase about 13.5% for the industry. Industry numbers were the best ever May that we have seen in the history of Indian auto of passenger vehicle industry. 335,000 against last year's number of about 295,000. So that's a growth of 13.5%. Maruti Suzuki actually did a little better. And purely on passenger vehicles, we were like 16% up over last year. So we gained market share, almost 1% market share, and crossed the 43% market share mark in the month of May. So reasonably good set of numbers for May. Retails though are slightly less compared with the wholesale. Industry retails estimated to be 325,000 against wholesale of 334,000. So the stock levels now going up to about 61,000 in the industry, but still very reasonable.
How much will that be? Means 30 days, 45 days stock level now?
27, 28 days.
27, 20. And do you see the industry pushing more stock into the retail going forward?
Yes. So actually, in the last couple of years, you would have seen the industry the stock levels are pretty low, and there is always this sense that in order to serve the consumer faster, you would need to build that pipeline in the stock, and that's the reason why you also saw that in the last 2 months, April and May, both wholesales have been stronger than retails. So the inventory pipeline is being filled up for the channels.
Coming to segment specific numbers, we saw minis and compacts showing a slight dip in May, and if I look at some of the trade statistics, the average discounting has also increased for this segment, not just for you but other your peers have also increased it. What is happening to the mini and compact segment?
So mini and compact segment, at its peak in 18, 19, it was about 15,60,000 numbers for the annually speaking. It fell down to 11,60,000 in 21, 22. But last year it went up by almost 20% to 13.4 lakhs. So still low compared with what the peak was. But we did see a good growth last year. This year, again, as you rightly mentioned, in May month, there seems to have been a dip in this segment. Generally speaking, in this segment is a very price-sensitive segment, and the elasticity of price being very high, we have seen that the price increases in this segment has been much faster than the income levels of the people in this segment. That means the affordability factor has come down, and that is been seen as the one major reason for the decline in this segment. This segment, which used to be about 42-43% of the industry, has come down to about 34-35% of the industry now. But specifically for May, I must mention that for Maruti Suzuki, the numbers don't really compare exactly with last year's May, because last year May we had the Alto 800, which has been discontinued, and now we have the Alto K10. So Alto K10 did get reasonably good numbers, 9,500, but couldn't get up to those very large numbers of the Alto 800 last year. Those numbers in May were about 12,500 or 12,600. So you would have seen a decline because of that as well.
So do you see this segment growing at a faster pace, or is going to be like this, given the fact that the consumer choice and preferences are moving or pivoting towards SUV or utility vehicles?
So the projection going forward as a percentage of the industry, that this industry should be in that will get a little lesser going forward. I think the 2030 projection is about 27-28% from the current level of 32-33%. But I must say, in terms of absolute volume, we have projected it to actually grow. And the reason why we are saying that is that while as a percentage of the industry it may come down, absolute volume could still grow because India is a fairly young nation, 65% of the population below 35 years of age. A lot of first-time buyers are there, 45% to 48% are first-time buyers. And there, I think if the income level increases, then you could see a bounce back in this segment going forward. And we are projecting the volumes to be actually higher than the current levels.
Shashank, you're a veteran in this industry and you've been seeing how the first time buyers have been buying cars. Have you seen a tectonic shift in the way or the models which they are buying? Are they going for minis and compacts, or are they going for utility or SUVs now compared to maybe 5 or 10 years back?
Clearly, there seems to have been a shift. I wouldn't say there's been a tectonic shift, but yes, a shift nevertheless. So you would see a lot of first-time buyers into the MPV and the SUV segment as well, even though those vehicles are priced higher, and also in the premium hatch and sedan segment. So yes, there has been a shift toward the buyer's preference, generally speaking, towards the entry SUV for the first-time buyers.
How are you doing in that segment, Shashank?
SUVs, entry SUV Vitara Brezza is of course the market leader ever since it was launched in 2016. And but then that segment is now the largest segment. It's about 25% of the total market now, and the mid SUV, which is around 21% of the overall market. So the overall SUV market has grown to almost 47-48%. And yes, one of the big things which have actually, which we as a part of our strategy to get back to the market share of our targeted market share of 50% is to try to increase our market share in the SUV space. In the non-SUV space, Maruti Suzuki's market share is 65%. But in the SUV space, the market share was only about 12.5% last year. But this year we have launched many new models, and if you look at only at the month of May, the market share has in the SUV segment gone up to about 21%. And by the end of the year, we are projecting that we should be about 24-25% of the market in SUV, and also the number one manufacturer of SUVs in the country. In May, we were number two.
How are you handling the semiconductor challenge, Shashank? Because your peers are also struggling, though they've been able to get alternatives, but the normalization level hasn't happened yet for semiconductors. So how are you handling it?
So really, that's one of the big challenges we are facing. Last year we lost almost 170,000 vehicles production because of the semiconductor situation. Q3 we lost about 46,000 vehicles, and Q4 about 38,000. In the month of April and May also we have lost large number of vehicles. It is projected in Q1 for this current financial year. We will lose substantial production in some of our models. Those models are XL6, the Brezza, the Vitara, the Fronx, and also the Ertiga. But what we are trying to do is to increase our sale of the other models where we do not have this big problem. And those are largely in the smaller engine segment. But we are trying to do that. And hopefully in the next quarter onwards, we will see a much better situation with regard to the semiconductor component supply.
One of the key attractions of a Maruti car is the kind of accessories that come with it, whether it's technology within the car or not. Is that getting calibrated now that you have the semiconductor challenge coming in?
So actually, variant-wise, you can see some of the calibration done in terms of production, because obviously there are some variants which require a much higher level of electronics compared with the other variants. Having said that, the demand also has shifted towards the higher end variants. So yes, we are trying to manage the situation by modulating our production and optimizing the specs based on the availability of the semiconductor components. exports.
What about augmenting of supplies? Because is that option at all, or you're still very dependent on some of the Southeast Asian nations for semiconductor?
Yeah, so I think those efforts are being made separately by our supply chain division, and they are, I would say, doing a pretty good job because this problem is a global problem and it has afflicted not just Maruti Suzuki but OEMs across the world. And despite all that, we have been able to produce a large number of vehicles. In fact, you would have seen 170,000 plus in May. So that speaks volumes of the good efforts being made there. But of course, we also have a backlog. And therefore, we need to increase further the production, especially of some models like the Ertiga, where the number of bookings are almost 100,000.
What is the kind of total backlog that you're sitting on now at the end of May?
It is 365,000 total.
So when you mentioned to us earlier that looking at a 25% market share in SUV segment, it's factored in all the challenges like the semiconductor and other stuff.
Yeah, we try to, but the visibility of the semiconductor availability is rather limited, as I have mentioned earlier as well. So what we do is we keep revising our estimates basis almost a weekly update that we get on the semiconductor component supply. So at the current information level, yes, those are the numbers which we are targeting. It's a 24 to 25% market share of the SUV.
What is the expected opportunity lost because of semiconductor in Q1? You said you lost something in April and May, and Q1 also you expected to overall lose. What is the kind of loss that you're looking at?
So we'll come to know at the end of the quarter because we will be announcing that in our quarterly, when we announce the quarterly result.
But what has been a monthly run rate for you?
But I told you the Q3 and Q4 losses. 46,000 in Q3 and Q4 about 38,000. In April and May also we have had some similar losses.
So that run rate will continue till supplies improve, basically.
Yes, so supply is expected to be much better starting Q2. So hopefully that is the time when we will be able to give you a better estimate of going forward what will be the supply situation.
Shashank, any update on new launches and new products that's coming in?
So we have had the launch of the Fronx last month, and
how is it doing? What's the response like?
Yeah, so we are doing just under 10,000 units in May also, and as well as in April. We have so far got about 46,000 or 45,000 bookings for the Fronx already, which is pretty good. And Jimny will be launching on the 7th of this month. That is in a couple of days' time. The dispatch of the Jimny we have started yesterday. So there we have got about 30 to 31,000 bookings approximately, which is pretty good, I would say. It's based on these SUVs, the Fronx, the Jimny, the last year's launched Vitara and the Brezza that we are saying that we would like to be the one SUV manufacturer by the end of this financial year.
Finally, Shashank, your view on how the industry is expected in FY24 and how Maruti is expected to do in volumes in FY24?
So 23-24, the expectation in the industry is that there would be a growth of about 5 to 7%. And that means that the volumes would be somewhere around the 41 lakh unit mass, 40.5 to 41 lakh units. That's the expectation for the industry for the financial year 23-24.
And what would you? You will, as usual, you will.
I'm not allowed by regulations to give forward-looking numbers. They could be market moving. So therefore, you can make your estimates.
Okay. So, I just want to check within the auto industry, do you expect a SUV to grow more than 10%? Because yesterday I was speaking to Rajesh Jejorikar and he said the industry SUV growth is expected to be more than 10%, while overall auto may be less than 10.
Correct. That's true. SUV, actually, if you look at April and May, it's already touched 47-48% of the overall market, starting with just around 42-43% end of last financial year. So yes, it is showing a good trend going forward, and I think that flow should continue in the coming months as well.
Shashank, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us on BQ Prime today.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.